Peace, power, and ascension, black family. I'm gonna make this real quick. Magic Savage, All Sovereign, Elroy All. If y'all want to check me out on Facebook, check my group out, Blackheart, on Facebook. I got a lot of live streams in there, and I've been trying to download them from my Facebook to my regular phone, so I can have them on file. But I don't know how to do that yet. So this is gonna be me beginning the process of me starting live on from YouTube or going whatever. I mean, changing my platform up real quick. So this one is going to be about GMO Mythology Part 2. I did Part 1 already from my group, from my page, All Sovereign, on Facebook. So if y'all want to see Part 1 to GMO Mythology, y'all can check it out on there. This one is going to be called, subtitled, The Contest of Champions, GMO Mythology Contest of Champions. With this video, what I want to talk about is a continuation of Part 1, but what I want to add on about this GMO mythology, the reason why I was speaking on GMO mythology, and a lot of people contest this concept of GMO, genetically modified organisms being a myth, not being a myth as I say it is because we're looking at it from different perspectives. And when I say GMO mythology, I was talking about all the lies, the deception of the concept of what genetically modified organisms is, or genetically modified organics. So what I'm speaking on with this GMO mythology is that genetically modified organisms, every single thing that exists is a genetically modified organism. If it exists, it is a composite of multiple organisms that have come together in some type of way unnaturally. I don't care if you're sitting in a chair, you're sitting at a table, you reading a book, you looking at plants, a combination of plants that have been put together for a floral arrangement. You use paper towels, you wearing t-shirts, you rocking beads, all this type of shit. This is all genetically modified organisms. This is all things that have been extracted from nature. These things that have been extracted from nature and joined, and organic material has been utilized and put together with other organic material that doesn't naturally meet or cross paths in the atmosphere of nature that they exist in. You know what I mean? Like the plastic, the silicone, or whatever it may be in these bees, and the string that's inside of these bees, and looping these bees together. This copper wire, this amethyst crystal. You know what I mean? This is all genetically modified organisms. The metal even on this howlite, this whatever this band is, that I don't even know what it is, plastic or whatever. And the stones, these are genetically modified organisms. You yourself, as a physically organic being, are a genetically modified organism. Every plant, every animal is a genetically modified organism. Now, where we get the concept of GMO technology or GMO right now is where people have classified genetically modified organisms to mean like stuff that doesn't produce seeds or you can't replicate. Well, every single thing, you can't put a chair with a chair and make another chair. You know, you can't motherfucking, the chairs can't copulate, the tables can't copulate, the glass cup that you drink out of can't copulate it with another cup and produce another cup. You know what I mean? You can't set them beside each other and eventually you will get a third. You can't set two cups beside each other and eventually you will get a third cup. Those are genetically modified organisms, according to your standard of genetically modified organisms. Now, what I would consider genetically modified organisms would actually be every single organism in existence right now. So the difference between what you speak on, when you say genetically modified organisms, you're actually talking about things that have been modified by men against their organic nature, or have been combined together, organic material that has been combined together, or has been spliced or tweaked, or the genetic material that exists already inside of it has been manipulated somehow by a man, and produce something that has not naturally been produced, or that doesn't naturally produce part itself. But now here's the thing, because everybody's real heavy into not eating GMO foods and shit like that. The GMO fruits and vegetables that you have to be produced out of a seed. That seed has to be grown in just like every other organic matter. So that fruit, or whatever it may do, even though that fruit that you grow does not produce seed, how is that seed produced? that original plant that was tweaked to create that genetically modified organism produced a seed. And that seed that seed is the genetically modified organism that you will call the GMO product. So that when that seed is grown, now that is grown and it doesn't produce any seeds. So you calling that a genetically modified organism when in actuality the organic material that did produce a seed and was still able to produce a seed was the originally modified organism. So this is where you get into the mythology dealing with what is actually GMO technology, genetically modified organism technology, and what is the science of genetically modified organism, or what is the standard of saying that this is unhealthy genetically modified organisms and this is healthy genetically modified organisms. Because if you want to look at everything that you build a house, if you build a house, you're dealing with a genetically modified organism, whether it's the pillars that's used in the foundation of the house, the concrete that's used to build the house, the plastic that's used to build the porch or the shingles of the house, everything, that's all genetically modified organisms, things that were extracted from nature, mixed with things that doesn't naturally meet in nature, because there's no plants or organisms or trees or anything that produces, shingles or cars and shit like that in nature. So everything that you have, I don't care if you got a fucking African flag, African Union flag. That's still you waving a genetically modified organism around, because that's cotton and silk or whatever it may other be, in different dyes from different plants that have been synthesized. So what I want to deal with is the same thing I dealt with when I talked about the carbon-14 dating being false and or misinformation, disinformation, and the concept of the calendar system being disinformation and misinformation dealing with the time-space continuum, and the whole concept of being illuminated and a light worker and all that type of shit. You are a genetically modified organism just off of your light energies, and being a light worker and the fact that you are light worker dominant with your frequencies and transmissions. You are acting you are genetically modifying the genealogy of light transmissions, of light emissions. You are because you want to say that light, because I don't know about you, but I believe that light itself is a living organism. And I believe that the evidence of that is the stars, and the fact that you perceive things, and those things that you perceive are the perception is transmitted through light frequencies, and that thing that can be altered and all that type of stuff based on your alchemy and magic. And that's what magic and alchemy is ultimately about. It's about the manipulation of organic material. So anybody that's dealing with any type of magic, any type of sorcery, any type of spiritual systems that deal with channeling or activating or altering the fates and changing the balances of karma, and as you have created, which is karma itself is a modification of what you would consider to be a universal law, which is a modification or a stasis form of an aspect of darkness. So getting into all this, but sticking to the script of GMO technology, because I am at work and I do need to get the fuck home. With GMO technology, what I call the contest of champions is the purpose of, when you get into the destructive energies, what we have been perceiving as the destructive energies in the land, air, water, and space, such as water pollution, air pollution, chemicals being dumped in the waters, chemicals being released into the air through chemtrails, and and ELF frequencies, and all this 5G technology shit that's being bounced off of the chemtrails and being and stimulating the chemtrails and being activated through utilizing the chemtrails, mixed and being integrated into our genetic material, because we breathe this shit in and it goes into our bloodstream, and it tweaks our biochemistry and biochemical material. That being said, the reason why I call this GMO mythology the contest of champions, because it's actually with the world that we live in, it has now become necessary for us to engage in genetically modified organisms and to understand, to master, because this is where the true alchemy, this is where the true God nature is. And this is one of the I guess I don't know if I wouldn't call it a riddle, but It's something like, can God civilize the devil? Can God make the devil divine again and complete? Can God reconstruct Lucifer out of demonic energies and recollect the shattered mind of Lucifer, which is this Illuminati diamond, which is the reality of light codes that we exist in, this temporary changing variable of systems and codes and patterns and habits and cycles and karma and universal laws and things like that, transcending into the dark side of nothingness, which all with absolute potentiality. Are we able to change that and alter that? What can we build out of that? What can we do with that? You know what I mean? And so this boils down into the GMO technology shit, the mythology of GMO, the contest of champions, where you as a god being or as a divine being or allegedly as a supreme being, masters of this universe, originators and creators and sustainers and protectors and maintainers of what is real in this real of life, what is REAL and this REEL of existence, of being. Through your knowing and being, you should know and be what is manifested. You should understand it. You should be able to master and not only master but understand the imbalances that are put in the land, air, water, and space. And not only are you supposed to know these things and understand these things, you are supposed to have the power within yourself, the abilities within yourself to activate these things and understand and get in tune with the organic material that these things are. Get in tune with the organic material that these things are and tweak these things and alter these things for your own power and prosperity, for your own advancement, to strengthen yourself as a warrior. And by you being a conscious being and seeking to be conscious and aware and know and be what you know, and your supreme being state, or your impeccable state, the totality and holistic self of you should be able to connect to the organic material that is in all these genetically modified organisms and bring out the best in those things. Civilize the devil in those things. If you're not able to do that, then there's something that is at fault or at flaw with you. Now, granted, they are trying to manufacture these beings that we call our adversary, that is working this adversary magic, are trying to manufacture the modifications at a faster rate, at a more rapid rate than what Mother Earth and this mother plane and this mother ship naturally processes these things and transmute these things into, like, trees absorb the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen for us. So what they're doing is trying to put things out here faster than the trees can absorb these things inside and clean the air up for us, or faster than the algae and the crabs and the lobsters and shrimps and all these other luminescent and marine life are able to filter these things out faster than the dirt and the sun are able to filter these things and break these things down and that nature. They're trying to produce it faster than the cycles would be able to handle these things. And this is where we get to the point of pollution. It wasn't pollution until they began to produce these things faster than what the mothership was able to disintegrate these things and reamalgamate these things into her natural body, her natural being, her organic material. That being said, aluminum is found in nature, but it's not found in nature the way that we are given aluminum foil. Plastic and silicone and all that shit is found in nature, but it's not found in nature in the state that we find it. Gold itself is found in nature. Y'all niggas rock gold all the time, and that's not found in nature in the way that you receive it and rocking it and wearing it and feeling like you fly and in touch with your motherfucking Hotep abilities. You know what I mean? So when you understand the depth of what genetically modified organisms are, you would understand what your place is as a master, as a master alchemist. You should be able to work your scales throughout all the zodiacal animalities and until you eventually reach a nigga like me, which is that Scorpion Phoenix, and get that key to the death of what their intentions are. Shit over, and what they put these things out there for. You're supposed to be able to go within yourself as a warrior and destroy that shit. So that even though you breathe in these chemtrails, your body should be so built to so strong in warrior mode that you destroy the destructive qualities that they put out, that they put inside of these chemtrails, and at the same time, because they can't create no thing without having, you can't tell a lie without a truth, so you can't create an unnatural thing without having a piece of nature, without having natural inside that unnatural. So it's up to you to get in tune with yourself and be so masterful and crafty within yourself that you can get in tune with with the natural elements that are inside of these things, and activate them to the highest manifestation that you are able to activate these things to, so that you begin to work with these things and against the destructive qualities that they do have, or the disagreeable energies that they emit or have inside of them, even with radiation and shit like that. You know what I mean? So that being said, this goes what I want to get into, because this is what I deal with a lot with finding the people that I do find, especially out here in Georgia, that are truly conscious and truly aware. And this is the next wave that I'm on. I told y'all on my social media that the next wave is phonetomology, which is phonetics and etymology. But the phonetics and etymology manifested deals with fearless conscience being. Everybody is conscious, but everybody don't have a conscience. Everybody does not have a holistic conscience. CON science. Conscience. There is a order from out of darkness. That order out of darkness is consciousness, not consciousness. Consciousness is not how you find order out of darkness. Being conscious, which deals with, the whole concept of wisdom and knowledge and information and understanding and shit like that. That's consciousness. What I'm talking about, the next wave, this phonetomology wave, the fearless conscience being, is the exiled warrior that has been forgotten about, which is the conscience being, the one that fears no consequences. That is the exiled warrior, the one whose body is tested and who has tried and tested through shit like GMO products or GMO technology, as you would call it. Where it don't matter if I'm sitting here around these artificial lights and shit, and I'm sitting here at this artificial table wearing these clothes that are not naturally produced by nature or in organic life. I'm able to still be a masterful, crafty nigga in this world, on this earth plane, and master what this is. I'm able to rock this masterfully and wear this masterfully, and even the oils that I put in my hair, that are not naturally extracted the way they are, put in the plastic. Plastic bleeds, whatever you want to, however you want to flip that motherfucking pancake. This is what you're talking about, and what I want to get into, what I want to mention and point out to y'all, is that our ancient ancestors dealt with all these things with drugs. Coca plants and poppy plants, cannabis plants, grain and grain alcohol, and which we now call beers and stuff like that, or mead, if you're dealing with those, the Celtic and Nordic cultures and shit like that, beer and all that type of shit. And now to the point at which we call shit like Percocets, Xannies, Mollies, and what the fuck else is it out there? Ecstasy and crack, coke, heroin, what else is it? Shit, I don't know. Crystal meth, whatever the fuck else it is out there. I don't know what it is, but all the acid, LSD, all that type of shit. Everything that exists right now that you consider to be a drug, our ancestors used some form of it with it, even though they used the more raw form, the more natural form, the more organic form. But in this reality that we live with, this GMO technology in the world, this globe world that has been constructed on our Earth plane, because the whatever, I ain't gonna get into that shit. But yeah. This is what you gotta you gotta understand, that don't come at no motherfucking drunk. Don't disrespect these what you consider to be junkies. Well, what we all consider to be junkies. I call them junkies too if they touch the right button. You know what I mean? And but these people that utilize these drugs, what you should be doing is not saying they're lost, they're fucked up, they're dumb. The system has them trapped because they're on these drugs. They're addicted to these drugs. What you should be doing, just like the shamans did, just like these other healers did in ancient times, is showing them how to activate the codes within themselves and utilize these destructive codes within themselves and tweak the numbers and alter the numerology within themselves and get in tune with their divine, supreme, holistic conscience. Become conscious of it and then get in tune with their conscience. But you can have a conscience, a divine conscience, without being conscious. You can be conscious without having a conscience. So you got to get in tune with these 2 points of yourself, that Gemini frequency, the Gemini animality of this reality that we live in, this duality construct, this duality universe, this dual universe, this two-dimensional universe. You got to get in tune with that shit. And you got to be able to activate and educate these motherfucking drug addicts and these alcoholics, everybody, whatever, no matter what their shit, their drug of choice is, or what drink they drink on, how much they drink. If you see somebody that really truly desires to know shit, and I'd have met them out here, especially being in Georgia, around the Atlanta area, everybody on some shit. You're supposed to be able to know, if you're a true light worker, you understand that you should know the codes of the drugs that they are using, the energetic frequencies of those things, the frequency of addiction, the frequency of habit, the frequency of use, the frequency of stimulation, or what it motivates, or what it activates, and how the brain responds and makes the body respond, and the frequencies of the addictive personalities and shit like that. You're supposed to be so masterful, crafty in your alchemy that you can reverse the effects and get them so in tune with their divine nature. I know, because I've done this also, especially when I was dealing with the prostitutes and pimping and all that type of extra shit. You can educate them, and which is shit that I did. I educated these motherfuckers about, like, yo, you're a sex worker. Why don't you get into sacred horror frequencies, sacred horror energies, where you begin, masterfully crafty, get crafty with the masculine energy, which is dominating and ruling you, and once you're in a subjugated position and in a state of submission. This is how deep you got to get into this shit. This shit is too real for you to still be walking around and running around talking about, don't just say no to drugs, scruff McGruff, and all this shit. Like, nigga, you got to really get in tune with, okay, and accept that that's their reality. Their reality is that they're good. They enjoy what they do. They love, that's a habit that they have. What are they going to do? You got a sex addiction. You're not going to say, I'm going to stop fucking. You're going to just find a better way to fuck and a more healthy way to fuck. So it's the same shit. You gotta find out their patterns and their habits, and you gotta master these herbs, even in the synthetic form, the synthetic replicas of these herbs. You gotta get in tune with the organic reality of these drugs and this alcohol and all this. This is all still GMO technology, genetically modified organism. That drug what we call drugs is still producing. That drug still has genetic material inside of it. Now they do have, I believe, they have synthetic drugs of some kind, but every synthetic drug has to be synthesized from organic material. There is nothing there's nothing in existence that was not extracted or synthesized from organic material. Now the layers of things that don't meet in nature, that have been put together and joined together to create these things, could be more complex. That's the only thing that would prove difficult to deal with, is that they've had combined things that are from such far reaches of so far away from each other on the scale of polarity of interactions and atmospheres and ecosystems, they brought so many things from so many different ecosystems that would never meet each other under these circumstances, and forged them together, that you would really have to. It's a matter of understanding what ecosystem this drug came from. What are all the different chemicals that exist in this drug? Where ecosystems do they come from? The chemicals that are in these drugs. What is the natural ecosystem of these chemicals in these drugs? And by you finding out that, and what plant material or organic material that these things are extracted from or can be used from, then you can understand the spirituality that you should be tuned into to activate the divine energies inside of these drugs for that person that you're dealing with that has that drug addiction. or that has that alcohol addiction. What grain of alcohol are they? Or is it made? Is the alcohol made from wheat, or is the alcohol made from honey? Is the alcohol made from rice? Is the alcohol made from, you know what I mean, beans or what? Like, you gotta get that deep into this alchemy. If you plan on truly helping and healing, and you call yourself a light worker or a healer of any kind, or even a dark side worker, this is how deep you got to get into this shit. This is what I'm talking about, the GMO mythology. Because a nigga like I said, motherfucker, you drink the right motherfucking, you drink a motherfucking root beer with some Oreo cookies, you fuck around be able to heal a motherfucking some cold out your chest. Get some cold out your chest and stop a coughing fit. And I think Bobby Hemmings said he did some shit with some peach soda. Somebody else did some shit with some Pepsi and cigarettes. And this is how deep into this shit, like, but everybody is not going to be the same, because everybody's not the same genetically. Everybody does not have the same alchemy or biochemical makeup to the same with the same degree of balances in their different genetic material. So you have to really try to find yourself and know, and from your balance, you can help us give other people advice from that and tell them, well, you can possibly do this because I did this. We're living off experience right now. This is the age of knowing and being fearless, conscious being. This is what it's about. You got to really be serious about this, and don't just be out here talking about GMO. That's GMO, just GMO. Every motherfucking thing out here GMO, nigga. You GMO. Everything GMO. We all GMO. You genetically modified organism of your mother and father, and everything else that every other two beings that created those two beings. And not only that, from the air that you've been breathing for your whole lifetime, that has the different things in the atmosphere and ecosystem that have been created from man-made shit, and cars that ride by and planes that fly over and fucking shit that's in the dust, and a nigga the piss dry up outside, a nigga been eating certain shit that you may be not used to, that fucking piss evaporates on a hot day, and you walking past all that the fog and the mist and the condensation that's coming up out of that grass and that earth and all that shit, all the animal, like you are a genetically modified organism. But as you breathe all these things in, and you take all these things in that are in your ecosystem or your atmosphere, that you try as you go about your daily travels, or in nightly journeys, your body is taking all this stuff in and building up immunity to these things. This is the same way you got to be with the chemtrails, with everything, with the pollution in the water, the fluoride in the water. You got to be able to break that curse. Now, don't get me wrong. I use non-fluoridated toothpaste and drink water bottles and all that shit, but I know it's still shit in there. Just like right now, like talking to the goddesses, I was telling them about how, estrogen can't be filtered out of the water. I got a live stream where I talk about this also when the Wrath of Cali. Estrogen can't be filtered out of water or anything. There is no such filter for anything for estrogen. No filter exists for estrogen in no way, shape, or form. You can't burn it. You can't set it on fire. You can't drown it out. You can't dilute it with water. You can't do it. You can't hide it, bury it, and none of that shit. Estrogen, estrogen is coming out of the darkness of feminine energy. The dark side of feminine energy is coming out of that dark nothingness. So estrogen is continuing to be produced and created, and there's no way to get rid of it. Testosterone can be altered into estrogen. Estrogen can't be changed into testosterone and all that type of shit. You can just try to override the estrogen with so much testosterone that the testosterone becomes artificially dominant, temporarily dominant. But the estrogen is still there. It just would suck them. It would just fall back and cease movement and activation to allow testosterone to do what testosterone has been trying to do, just as the women try to fall back and let niggas do what niggas do, believing that men got to do what men got to do. It's just certain things that are in men to be active and to be aggressive and to be a certain type of way. So let me just go ahead and fall back and allow my man to be a man. It's the same thing. Estrogen does the same thing. Estrogen is a living energy. It's a living organism that exists that exists and is created by the mothership. And it is created here to restore the balance from so much aggression and so much testosterone and shit like that. It's the same thing. But we masculine energies are receiving all of this testosterone from the food that we eat, from the water that we drink, from the candy that we suck on, from everything that in existence has estrogen in it, and we are constantly receiving. This is why men are becoming more feminized, and this is why also to combat this, men are becoming hyper aggressive and all that shit to keep their testosterone levels higher and elevated, to try to combat becoming more feminized or effeminate. But that's not gonna work. That's only a temporary relief, because what happens is, just like you using drugs, your testosterone becomes your drug, and you become a genetically modified organism based off of that, because you start to produce you stop producing the natural chill testosterone, the you know what I mean, the fluid testosterone that's superfluous with all of your masculinity that you are, your Y chromosome, and you begin to produce an artificial testosterone that is the one that's based on fear, aggression, and sex. And what happens is that you stop producing the superfluous testosterone, the synchronized testosterone, mitosis testosterone, the one that mitosis and synchronizes with your body and your natural flow of circadian rhythms and all that type of good shit. And when you do this, the moment that you stop being so hyper aggressive, the moment that you stop being so fearful, the moment that you fall back from being so hyper aggressive, and all that type of shit, then you start to become more feminine. You start to get limp dick. You start to not want to. Your muscles start to deteriorate. You start to age faster, and you actually are aging faster by you being so hyper testosterone, because testosterone is actually a destructive energy. And it's a self-destructive energy. Testosterone is so destructive that it's also self-destructive when you become overloaded with testosterone. Testosterone begins to self-cannibalize, and if you have it all throughout your body and all throughout your being, and in your muscles and bones and everything like that, then you start to physically self-cannibalize and age faster. So but in the contest of champions, you're supposed to test yourself with all of this shit. I don't give a fuck what you've been through. If you've been addicted to drugs, you supposed to keep doing them motherfucking drugs until you master what the qualities of that drug is, and you get in tune and in touch with the good qualities of those drugs. If you've been an alcoholic and you had to fight yourself to get off. You had to fight yourself to get off of alcohol because it was just taking over you, and you begin to get alcohol poison, get sick, and only want to drink all the time. Then you really should be drinking. Now, once you get back control of yourself, you need to go back to drinking alcohol again, and you need to fucking test yourself with this alcohol and get in tune with your spiritual and mystical side, utilizing this alcohol, because that's what all of our ancient ancestors did. Everything that existed, they tested themselves. They tested this technology, this genetically modified organism technology, against their organic technology that was themselves. This is the contest of champions. This is the reality that we live in. To the point where, because it's going to come a time, and they may come a time where, like they say, like, I don't know if y'all seen these movies where they always got plagues and they always got these viruses, the outbreaks and shit, but then they got this one motherfucker that's always the one that don't got the virus, that don't got the plague, that seems to be immune from it. And then the scientists are always trying to kidnap and abduct that person and find out, why is this person immune? This child is immune from all these diseases. This is going to be the future. This is the Messiah blood. This is the Messiah seed, the one that's going to be our future, that's going to repopulate, for the generation, because we no longer can produce children because we all possess the virus and got to take these chemicals, that combinations, elixirs, to fight off the virus and not be affected by it. But in the midst of us doing this, we become impotent and all this type of shit. We gotta be those beings that's like that. But for us to prepare for that, we gotta be able to be radiation resistant. We gotta be ready to be drug resistant to the negative and destructive effects of drugs, and the negative and destructive effects of alcohol and chemtrails and radiation poison and motherfucking natural weathers. We got to be able to withstand all weather conditions. We got to be able to withstand tropical conditions and extreme cold conditions without having to wear a coat or without having to undress or have a fan or air conditioner. This is what the contest of champions is. This is what the warrior mode is. The exiled warrior is that one true divine being, and the archetype of the exiled warrior, or of that supreme being, that holistic being, is what I call the black one. This is my personal superhero, and you can utilize this personal superhero here also, because this being comes out of darkness. It's the perfect black one, or the perfect dark. I call the black one, and this is the original warrior, the original man and the original woman, that is that all frequency, or that that original frequency of creative force of will, that came out of darkness, that first being that came out of darkness and meiosis into masculine and feminine vessels, the black one. You know what I mean? So you can tap into this like it's a superhero, and channel this energy from this black one, and which I call the exiled warrior, because everybody's all on this illumination, light code, frequency shit that you forgot about the black one. So that's what I want to say. With this GMO mythology and GMO technology and shit, we in the contest of champions. Test yourself with all this fake shit. Test your truth with this fake shit. You know what I mean? See how true you are to who you are. If you truly know yourself and can be yourself, can you get high? Can you get high? Can you get drunk? Can you be a part of self? Can you be very hypersexual? Can you be all this stuff? Can you be non-sexual, asexual, and still be true to yourself and know yourself and be yourself holistically and completely, and still be masculine? Can you, as a masculine being, with y'all alpha male, alpha beta, male-minded type of niggas and patriarchal supremacy, can you be submissive to your divine feminine, or can you get in touch with your feminine side holistically, and still be and know and be yourself holistically in totality, impeccably? This is the contest of champions. The contest, the contest of your soul self. This is your soul journey. That's all I wanted to say. I appreciate y'all for listening. That do listen, watch, share, whatever it may be. Ask questions. It is what it is. I got you. I'm gonna start doing lives. I gotta figure this shit out with my phone. I just switched from iPhone to Samsung, and I can't. I'm trying to keep record of all my videos saved to my personal files, and I haven't been able to do it. So that's why I'm great. Start this YouTube by. So appreciate y'all for listening. Much love, and I'm great trying to be back and making this shit happen. Power to y'all on this super black moon. Channel that black one for this super black moon. Love y'all.